Good afternoon. All the way from Dubai, she has joined us. Thank you. Thank you, Jane. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm so delighted to see you over here.
Nice to see you too.
With a wonderful topic of your choice of emotional intelligence in leadership during unprecedented times. I'm sure this is the topic of the day and the topic of the summit. I would say for the last and the best for the last would be there. The last but not the least, we have some more sessions. But welcome, Jane, and over to Lata to introduce her and start over of her presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello, Jane. Welcome.
Hi, Lata.
Hi. Thank you so much for accepting our request and speaking on, EI in leadership during unprecedented times. And we know that all the leaders here, everybody who is leading needs this a lot. So we are looking forward to have you in this session. So I'm going to introduce Jane to all of you. Jane is the regional director of 6 Seconds, Middle East, Africa, and India. She also serves as a board member for the non-profit 6 Seconds Global Network. With over a decade of experience in EQ, her passion is maximizing the potential of people by supporting them to unlock their value and increase performance both personally and professionally. Jane comes from a hospitality sector and brings 25 years of operational leadership experience along with extensive expertise in consulting, coaching, and the design and delivery of powerful, scalable, learnable, and development programs. She has a wide spectrum of experience in learning, organizational change, service, and building world-class teams throughout the Middle East, in addition to Africa, India, UK, Europe, China, Russia, and America. Her infectious enthusiasm and a strong commitment combine to engage people to increase personal, team, and organizational performance. I have been one of your students, Jane, so thank you so much for being my mentor, my teacher, and I welcome you to WEI Summit Day 2. Over to you, Jane. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lata. May I share my screen?
Yes, please, Jane. Welcome.
Okay. Well, hello. How are you today?
Good, Jane. Looking forward to your session.
Excellent. Excellent. So you should see my screen right now. Is that right?
Yeah.
Correct, Jane.
Fantastic. So I am really excited to be here today because right now we are living in unprecedented times. Many of you are familiar with that term VUCA. Volatile, uncertain, changing, ambiguous. And although this phrase was coined prior to the COVID pandemic, no time in history, I think, has been more VUCA. It's taken on a whole new depth of meaning in terms of how we as individuals, our families, our communities, our organizations, and our very countries are suffering the ongoing ripples of this. So my question to you as we start this session today is, what does it take to lead now and into the future? To create that context, that climate, that feeling in your organization, which will enable organizations to thrive and flourish. So 6 Seconds has worked and researched in the area of emotional intelligence and leadership for over 20 years. And as a result of this, we have defined leadership in the light of this model. This model is a model of leadership founded on emotional intelligence. In the model, there are 5 drivers: motivation, change, execution, teamwork, and trust. And these drivers are what enable leaders to thrive, to grow, and how we measure leadership in terms of these KPIs of direction, design, efficacy, and influence. So in our definition, An effective leader is someone who's able to set the context where people are motivated, adaptable to change, collaborate as a team, and focus on executing results. And in the model, we then measure 4 KPIs, key performance indicators for leaders. Direction, how able is this leader to set direction for his people? Design, how able is this leader to oversee, to participate in designing systems and processes that enable people, that are externally focused in order for people to do the best they can do? How able, how efficient, how effective is this leader in getting the work done, doing what needs to be done? And is he able to influence, enroll people to follow him, support their strategy? So recently we've been looking at measuring this and talking about in our own internal and external research is, do these 5 drivers, change, motivation, execution, teamwork, and trust, do they really matter? How do they matter? How much do they matter? And based on 20 years of research, we found that they do. If we combine the 4 KPIs, direction, influence, design, and efficacy, into one variable called leadership performance, which you can see on the vertical axis, and compare this with the 5 drivers, trust, motivation, change, execution, and teamwork, which you can see on the horizontal axis, in which we've called vital leadership or leadership performance, we can see that there's a really strong correlation. In fact, we know that leaders who are higher in the 5 drivers, whose ability these 5 drivers are higher, are 19.5% higher in leadership performance. That's nearly 20% higher. Just imagine for one moment if the leaders in your organization were 20% more effective. What would the impact of that be? So as we go through this, if you have any questions, please make a note of them in the chat. I am not able to multitask and talk to you and present to you and man the chat, but I think Lata is very kindly manning that. And if she can answer it, I know she will. And if she can't, you can maybe store the questions up for the end. I can always flip back or wave to me, Lata, and I'll pause for a moment to respond to a particular question.
No worries, Jane. We are monitoring the chat box. You continue your presentation. We will be answering it. And any question for you, we will take it up at the end of the session.
Fantastic. So central, as you saw, to the vital signs model is trust. Right now, we are in the midst of a trust revolution, where trust in many, many areas of our lives is being challenged. It's plummeting. Never before has there been a higher need for leaders in organizations to reinforce trust. Even before the pandemic, there was a lot of research that showed that trust was at its lowest level ever, that citizens didn't trust their governments, few people trusted the media, trust in institutions generally, what we could refer to as institutional trust, was at a very low ebb. Yes, I'm sure all of you know, numerous studies have shown that high performance requires psychological safety in an organization. Essentially, psychological safety boils down to trust. And what we're seeing is that as institutional trust diminishes, the need for relational trust increases. If people are, their trust in the organizations, the systems, the processes, the buildings, the structures are decreasing, if we want them to perform, we as leaders need to build the relational trust. That trust between two people, people and their teams, people within the organization. So in my opinion, the role of leaders in these unprecedented times, really, it's never been more important. If you consider the months of pay cuts, furloughs, redundancies, layoffs, what has this done to the trust people have in their organizations? That feeling of safety, of security, has been seriously eroded. Yet, trust provides the foundation of organizational performance. And organizational performance is driven by organization climate, the way people feel about their organization. And this measure is often referred to as engagement. As neuroeconomist Paul Zak says, when trust is high, morale is high. And ultimately, it's people that drive performance. Organizations with high levels of trust are 27% more likely to have high performance. That's huge. Yet, if we think about the recent VUCA months, people are feeling expendable. So if or when they're rehired, why would they feel willing to give their discretionary effort? Why would they be willing to engage? And yet, if we as organizations are to survive and thrive and grow and flourish, that's what we need now and into the future. As I said, I feel that there's never been a more important time for leaders to build and maintain trust, relational trust, that trust between people, to focus on engaging people to give their discretionary effort. When leaders don't create the safe context, the safe workplace, there are repercussions. I don't know if you've ever worked in an organization when there's a lack of trust, where you don't trust the leader, when work becomes siloed, when grapevine flourishes because there's a lack of transparency. Think for a moment, what did that do to your performance? So right now, leaders are in a world in which engaging and maintaining this personal level of trust is crucial. A leader's capacity to do this is key to forming inclusive teams where every voice is heard, feels heard, where teams feel safe, they feel trusted to innovate, to experiment without the fear of retribution, without the fear of failing. Because especially in stressful times, these unprecedented times that we find ourselves in right now, people are likely to become volatile. And when people are volatile, they react rather than responding by engaging their emotional intelligence. As I mentioned, in the vital signs model, trust is at the center. And from our research, it has a mitigating factor that either limits or increases a leader's efficacy in all the other drivers of change, execution, teamwork, and motivation. So considering this VUCA environment that we're in, and the unprecedented times that we face, change is a huge, huge driver of performance right now. A leader's ability to be agile, a leader's ability to focus on what needs to be done, to think about what strategic is necessary, what do our customers need, and sometimes to pivot. And yet, all too often, leaders try to change. They change with knee-jerk reaction rather than responding mindfully. And in some cases, they just flip-flop. Because remember, 70% of organizational change fails. Why? Because often, regardless of the time, leaders try to do this much change when there's only this much trust in the organization. And if there's only that much trust, you can only do that much change. Because change is about people. Change is not systems and processes driven. Yes, they might be essential to the change, but it's this relational trust that's important in bringing people into the change. So right now, trust is sacrosanct. It's the number one thing that leaders need in terms of building relationships, in terms of building the future of their organizations, not just the organizations, in some cases, our very countries. So what is trust? There's many elegant and eloquent definitions out there, but essentially trust is about safety, being able to rely on somebody. It's about confidence that people take thoughtful action. Clarity from experiencing believable communication, from knowing what the person says is clear and what they say they'll do, and satisfaction from cooperating and experiencing teamwork within a group. It's about having that surety that someone has got your back, that someone is there, that you have a safe space to take risks, to innovate, and to move ahead. So thinking about this, who do you trust? I'm sure all of you have got a pen and paper. So I want you on that pen and paper in front of you to draw 5 concentric circles, just like this, a bit like a dartboard. So in the bullseye, the very center of the circles is 100% trust. As the circles ripple outwards, the trust becomes lesser and lesser and lesser until outside there would be zero trust. Now, I want you to think of maybe 5 people that are in your immediate circles that you interact with on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis in your organization. You could write their names or you could just put an initial there. I'm not going to ask you to hold it up and share it for the camera so you don't have to be afraid of what you write there, but it's for your eyes only for this purpose. If we were in the same room, I might ask you to share, but not right now. So just put an initial or a name. Where would you position these people? Just 5. Now, as you reflect on that, consider, why have you put them where you put them? What are some of their characteristics? What are some of the characteristics of the high trust or low trust people? I'd be curious to see some of the responses in the chat if you can. Trying to find my chat.
Yeah, there are ability to connect, high trust, someone who honors commitments,
Mhm.
transparent communication.
Mhm.
These are the replies. Respect, care,
Mm.
dependable,
Mhm.
open,
Mhm.
integrity,
Mhm.
empathetic,
Mhm.
transparent, sense of security and being looked at from non-judgmental space, non-judgmental, dependable.
Fantastic. Because what you're creating in that is it's almost your own VEI Summit definition of what trust is. What does it mean to you as a group of people here? Now's the challenge. If these people whose names and initials you've put on your circles were in this summit, sitting in a room with me, and I asked them to do this exercise, where would they put you? And I'm not going to ask you to tell me, but I want you to take 30 seconds just to think about, where would these people put me? Trust is an emotion. It's contagious. It's a neurochemical called oxytocin, and it's our brain's way of signaling trust or distrust. Oxytocin tells us when to trust or when to remain a bit wary. It affects every aspect of our social and economic life, from who we choose to be open with, to whom we choose to invest money with, or which charity to give money to, whether to put trust in the person. And if you were sitting in a room right now, I'd ask you, how much oxytocin is flowing between you and the person sitting next to you? So oxytocin is produced deep within our neural architecture in the brainstem. So we produce oxytocin unconsciously. So it leads to this idea that we trust or distrust instinctively without thinking. We just have this gut feeling of, I trust this person or I don't trust this person. As I mentioned, it's contagious. Like all emotions, it is contagious. So it's reciprocal. Chances are the more I trust you, the more likely you are to trust me. It allows us to have a sense of the feeling that's between us. It's a molecule of social connection. What's really interesting is that in Paul Zach's work, in his research, the amount of oxytocin correlated with the decision to trust someone. Even more interesting is that it spiked when you give trust to somebody else. So the person receiving trust, their oxytocin spiked too, making them more trustworthy. So now think about this research in the context of leadership. The more I give trust to you, the more likely you are to trust me, and vice versa. And yet, too many times in 25 years of working with leaders, I have heard, well, I don't really trust them. I'm not sure if I turn my back. I can't leave it to the others. Really? So you don't trust them. And if you don't trust them, what does it say about their trust in you? So it seems that to be trusted, you need to show trust. So how do leaders increase trust, especially in this unprecedented time? And I know that, I was listening to the comments you put in the chat, and I was really, really curious to hear them, because based on our research, there are 4 key factors Isn't their role rather to have the questions? Because the value in an organization does not come so much from a leader, but rather from the people who follow him. So if trust is imperative, then it might be well worth taking the risk to actually communicate honestly. And, you know, would you or would the leaders that you work with have the courage to say to their team, look, we have a major problem in unprecedented times. I need your help. The company needs your help to survive. So I need some good ideas and I would love to hear them from you. How many of you work in an environment or work with leaders or are the leader who has the courage to be that vulnerable, that transparent? Because that's what we're talking about when we're talking about transparency. I love the second point here, treat people like volunteers. Because the value of trust comes from an individual's social commitment. And it is their biological signal of commitment to the organization. When people feel trust, they dig in. Fred Smith, who's the founder and CEO of FedEx, which is 6 Seconds global client, talks about the term discretionary effort. He says that the real value from employees is at their discretion. They're paid to fulfill their contractual obligations, to do the 9 to 5 minimum amount of work, show up, do what's required of them, and leave at the end of the day. But high performance comes from them giving their discretionary effort. This does not mean staying longer than the necessary hours. It means that when you are there, you are fully engaged, you are innovative, you are creative, you are on task. And that is the gift that is at the disposal of your employees. And they will only give it when they feel cared for, they feel respected, and they feel appreciated. So in your organization, do employees actually give that gift? And if not, why not? What will it take to move there? The third point is connecting with purpose. And there's so much said about that these days that really, and I believe right now, in alignment with this need for relational trust, there's also this need for connecting with purpose. For our organizations to thrive through these unprecedented times, we need people to give their discretionary effort. How can you get that? Well, you could bully, threaten, even bribe, increase their pay. Who's got money to do that these days? But none of these are really going to do it because we accline to them very quickly and they become the norm. So they're really poor solutions in the long run. Instead, connecting people with purpose is often a very low-cost solution. By purpose, of course, I'm not talking about just making money. I'm talking about that golden why that Simon Sinek is famous for talking about. When people connect with purpose, they connect to the very mission of their organization. They bring more energy. They're more profoundly motivated. They're more engaged. So today, I think that it is so important for organizations and therefore leaders to really consider what is our why. Not about making money or creating profit. Why do we exist? What value do we add? And sometimes it's simple as drilling down with the 5 whys to get there. When people are connected to this bigger mission, they're motivated to work towards something bigger than themselves. So are your people do they actually even know what their company's purpose is? I talk to leaders sometimes and they're not sure about it. The answer is make money. And then finally, the fourth point here is about creating a habit of caring. Believe it or not, all research points to the fact that trust is created in the small moments. We can have major campaigns running to build trust. And yes, whilst they are important and they set a context, it is the small moments, remembering people's names, remembering their spouses, their children, how many children they have. The small detail that helps build this relational trust that I'm talking about. When people feel the sense of connectedness, caring, they trust more. That oxytocin grows within them and they become more trustworthy. And they're more committed because it's this mutual, reciprocal relationship. The trust caring circuit in our brains is incredibly powerful. When people feel good, they do good. They do more. They give their discretionary effort. So alongside creating transparency, treating people like volunteers, connecting to purpose, leaders also need to build an environment of caring. So what are some of the small moments which you and leaders that you work with in your organization can bring care into the workplace? So,
Jane, we are having another 5 minutes to wrap up.
Yep. So I was just looking at my time here and thinking to myself, I better end. So on this note, I am going to ask you to actually take 30 seconds out of the 5 minutes and to end with a personal reflection on, are you building trust in your workplace? How are you building trust in your workplace?
Wonderful question.
And if you would like to know more about our research, I can jot it into the chat, or maybe Lata, you can. It's sicsec.org/vitality. Just number 6, SEC.
I think put it in the chat box, someone of you.
I will do that.
No, Jane, we're putting it. Don't worry.
You're putting it there.
Yes.
So it's not seconds, it's just SICSEC. It's a shortcut, .org/vitality.
Yeah.
And there's a research paper that goes much deeper than I've been able to go with you in terms of 30 minutes about trust and about the emotional intelligence drivers that support
it
trust.
is 6 second, right?
No, it's just SEC, SEC.
Okay, SICSEC.
Yeah, .org.
Yeah.
.org/vitality.
6 seconds .org-vitality.
Let me see. I'm going to go to my chat now. I'll do it quickly. Yep, that is correct. Thank you very much. Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I think 6 second .
Yeah. No, the first one is correct, not the second one. It's number 6. Yeah.
Okay. Please follow.
I posted the right link.
Yes.
So
Thank you, Lata.
I think it was.
And there's an article there, and you can download the report.
Sure.
It's incredibly interesting. So I would invite you to do that.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much for honoring our request to join and share a lot of good insights. I think it was quite a small view about the whole topic, but definitely we'll have one masterclass from you to understand more about leadership, more about 6 seconds work, what you do, and the entire, how you have managed these things. Soon we will be coming back to you. This is only just a first approach to you, but then we will be having connected and collaborating more with you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Can I have the last slide, please?
On your conference.
Can I have the back slide? Can I have the back slide? Not this. The before slide, please. Yeah. This is a small certification of appreciation, a token of appreciation from Emotionalitics and MEQ to you for sharing your insights today. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. We have also planted a tree on your name in the Greater Himalayas in the Uttarakhand. So we will be sharing this certificate with you, and don't on the claps, please. We will be sharing this certificate with you so that you can scan and you can see the tree growth. And this tree has been sponsored by our gratitude partner, GAPS Digital Solutions. Thank you, Jane, for being with us. Thank you very much.
I think that's a wonderful gift. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
So much.